It's someone that I met a few years ago. I was introduced to Jim Harris because he was the leader of the federal Green Party before Elizabeth May. And Jim had the difficult task of taking a party from a place that had been in terms of practicality and the idealism. And I think Jim really stamped his name on it. Jim really stamped an image and a brand on it, and for the very first time accomplished a lot of great things for the federal party. And Jim, I'd like you to talk a bit about those tonight. I don't want you to be shy or neglect to be boastful about the things that you accomplished, because I think it's really relevant to what we're trying to accomplish here in British Columbia. It's very, very important. I remember the first time we saw Jim on TV and we read about the newspaper, I remember my father observed that how could a man so accomplished in business and how could a man so professional and so articulate waste so much time with the Green Party? He thought, how does a guy like Jim do that? And over time you begin to realize that, like so many people in the Green Party, he was ahead of the curve. He understood, and he still to this day, and you see it in the blogs and the emails and the cheering section that Jim Harris has become for our party, literally for every Green Party provincially across the province. I got an email the other day from the Green Party of Saskatchewan from Jim Harris. It was unbelievable. He continues to rally and believe and bring us all together with this ideal that we know something that they haven't quite figured out yet, and he has gone on to become an ambassador. And if the Prime Minister is the prestige we accomplish nationally, Jim Harris has gone on to become the Secretary General of Green Party in Canada. And we are so privileged to have you here tonight. And I remember I called you not too long ago in a moment of uncertainty for myself, and you were so helpful and you were so patient and willing to give me your experience from it. And I should have had you out here so much sooner. It would have made things a lot easier for me and a lot of people. And you're here now, and you went out of your way to work with our budget and on our timeline and the things that we needed. You truly have given of yourself so much to this party, federally and provincially. Please come up and say something and teach us. Jim Harris.
So Christopher Ian asked me to do a talk on business and on some of the successes we've had in the Green Party. And I thought I'd characterize this as the reinvention of business, of doing green business. Adobe here in Canada retrofitted their buildings for a cost of $1.4 million, which they made back in 9 months, under a 1-year payback. So they'll now make that every year going forward, forever into the future. In business, you can't get a 1-year payback like that. Walmart, on one single initiative, is saving $310 million. They have the second largest truck fleet in North America, 7,200 trucks that do 1 billion miles a year on North American roads. 1 billion miles. And I believe Walmart began their sustainability initiative as a PR effort because they were being so hammered by communities all around North America who were rejecting their megastores. And their truckers, by law in the US, have to take a nap after 10 hours of driving. And the truckers were leaving the trucks on in the winter to heat the cabs, and in the summer to AC cool the cabs. They put auxiliary power units on the cabs that allow the cabs to turn off when the drivers are sleeping, and that is saving them $310 million between now and 2015. And just to give you an idea of what Walmart would have to earn on their top line to make that, they work on 3% net margins. And so they'd have to earn another $10 billion of sales to have the bottom line impact that that single green initiative had. And I've been to Bentonville for their quarterly meetings. I worked with a venture capital group called Clean Tech that brings together venture capitalists with entrepreneurs with clean and green technologies. And it is the third largest and the fastest growing category of venture capital in North America now. In other words, the business community has cottoned on to going green is not just good for your PR, it's good for your bottom line. And while Walmart might have initially been attracted to this for PR reasons, they now have become converts. And while Walmart, we can question whether it could ever be green given its model of importing from China, Walmart is going to their suppliers and saying, we expect you to reduce your energy usage by 30% within the next few years. They're forcing the supply chain to focus on energy efficiency. And so while Walmart in itself is not a sustainable model, they are going to become a driver for sustainability throughout society. Now, you know, we can get to the question of saying, will we ever get there through efficiency? And the answer is no. But what it is doing is starting people along the path. And the deeper they get into this, the more they realize there is to go deeper. In other words, if I have to choose between perfection and progress, I'll choose progress. Because with perfection, we never change anything. We get to be self-righteous in our perfect homes. Well, our perfect homes aren't even perfect. I mean, I'm retrofitting my own to the huge cost, but our payback, we're willing to have longer paybacks. We need to transform the whole society, and getting people on the path is the way to do it. So I'll even cite Walmart tonight. But there's so many things we can do. Do you know that there are 4 billion power supplies sold every year in the world for different devices? And that these all consume something that's called phantom or vampire or standby power. And do you know that the phantom power in California was greater than all the power required for all refrigeration? In fact, these devices take up to 20 watts. So when your television is off, in fact, it can be drawing up to 20 watts. And more power than all refrigeration. So California passed a law that said if you want to sell an electronic device in the state in this year, it has to consume no more than 0.75 watts. And next year, it'll be 0.5 watts. And in a single stroke, just of a pen, they eliminated the need to build 3 power plants at billions of dollars of capital cost. And basically, manufacturers can change their production methodologies at a maximum of 25 cents a power supply, and the minimum is basically free with economies of scale. So when we're told by our Minister of the Environment that meeting our Kyoto goals will bankrupt Canada, nothing can be further from the truth. With a single stroke of a pen, California was able to save the capital cost of 3 new power plants. And so there's so many solutions, and business is going to have to be part of the solution if we're to ever achieve what we need to achieve. And one of the things I'm proud about is the Green Party is neither right nor left. You know, the fact that here in Canada, our federal government gives $1.4 billion a year in subsidies to oil and gas interests is something the Green Party would put an immediate halt to. Does that mean we're to the right of the Conservative Party, which supports this, and the Liberal Party, which initiated it? Yes, we're fiscally to the right. And at the same time, do you know that more than 1.1 million children live in poverty, unable to say with certainty that they'll have food on the table at the end of the month? 1.4 million children. In fact, in 1989, every party in Parliament committed to eliminate childhood poverty in Canada by 2000. And today, more children live in poverty than then. And so the old line traditional parties, which have been in power in every province, Conservatives, Liberals, and NDP, provincially and federally, have absolutely failed us. And I'm proud to say the Green Party is the only party that's talking about a guaranteed annual income supplement. Call it a negative income tax that would guarantee decency for all Canadians to live in the richest country, and to have over 1 million children living in poverty is a national disgrace. And it's a feminist issue too, because if you actually look at single-parent families that live in poverty, the vast majority are headed by women. And so why are we subsidizing oil and gas companies when oil is over $80 a barrel? Why are we subsidizing the richest companies in Canada while 1.1 million children live in poverty? So we would, with our guaranteed annual income supplement, does that mean we're further left than the NDP? Now, isn't this beautiful positioning? To be further right, fiscally responsible than the Conservatives or the Liberals, and to be more progressive than the NDP? And so one of the things that we do is we break these labels of left and right. Left and right are no longer useful in political analysis. There is only the parties of the past who are committed to the destruction of the planet, and the party of the future, which is guaranteeing our future path, a sustainable path. And so I see us as really breaking the mold. And in that sense, one of the things I made sure that I did is I always talked about my roots 20 years ago as a progressive conservative. It was a long time ago. But to say that the Green Party is an all-inclusive party, we welcome people from every walk of the spectrum. And it was my great pleasure to work alongside with people like Andy Shadrach, who is a self-admitted former communist, and myself, a former progressive conservative, working hand by hand to bring about sustainability for all future generations. And so I consider the labels that the old-style political parties actually talk about as not something that's very useful at all. And in that sense, business can actually be a leader. I take pride in having met Ray Anderson of Interface. And Interface, 100% of their product, which is carpet, used to end up in landfill. And if you actually look at an office, the wear on a carpet is just 15%. What's under the desk, for instance, is never worn. And he realized, he had an epiphany one day and realized that he was the head of a growing company that was literally destroying the planet and the future of his children and his grandchildren. He had this epiphany, and he said, we're going to completely reinvent this business. And they have spent $300 million on sustainability initiatives in Interface. And the good news is they have made that entirely back by literally reinventing their business. They got rid of all toxic materials in their carpet. They broke their carpet up from a full, to little tile squares, so that when you do have worn pieces, you only remove the tile squares, cutting the amount immediately down by 85%. There's so much that engineers can do, and there's nothing that engineers like more than a really good problem. And so business, when we begin to embrace business, we will harness the creativity, the ingenuity of entrepreneurs all around this province. All around this country, and in fact, all around this globe. You know, when Nortel faced the inevitable challenge of meeting the Montreal Protocol, there are two things they could have done. The first thing was to say that this will be a job-killing agreement and that we will fight it with the PR machinery, something that Mr. Harper is doing, something that the executives of Exxon are doing. That would have been one strategy. But what Nortel instead chose to do was to embrace the Montreal Protocol, to say we're going to meet it, and we're going to meet it ahead of target, and we're going to assign 3 task forces to literally figure out how to do it. The first task force was how do we conserve, how do we, through reuse, better capture of CFCs, reduce our usage immediately. And within 6 months, they were able to reduce their CFC usage by 40% in 6 months. The second group was aimed at researching far and wide what others were doing. You see, in the circuit board industry, when they have excess solder after soldering, the CFCs were used to clean the excess solder off. And the third group was looking at literally reinventing the process of manufacturing at Nortel. And in the end, they worked with the solder manufacturer to develop a low solid flux that once you finished soldering, left no need for cleaning at all. And in a single stroke, they saved $50 million of CFCs every year, 10 years ahead of the Montreal Protocol, which is $500 million or $500 million direct to the bottom line. And all the executives I've ever worked with, all the CEOs, you say, are you interested in $1 billion to the bottom line for free? They're all interested. In fact, being green is the best thing ever for business. And businesses are beginning to wake up to this. But Nortel didn't just stop there. They saw a global responsibility. They began sharing that technology with their competitors. So their competitors could eliminate CFCs, because we are all on this lifeboat Earth together, this garden planet of the universe. And so it's very exciting for us tonight to be here. I want to tell you that I witnessed 5 candidates today, and I was just bursting with pride. And I was looking at the next leader of the opposition or premier in 2 cycles. I don't think we realize how historic a time we are at. You know, 30 years ago, I told you a black political prisoner will be president of South Africa. You would have thought it not possible. If I told you 30 years ago that the Berlin Wall would fall, and when it did, people would break it apart with their bare hands, you would have thought it not on. I would like to tell you, the person that we elect tomorrow, and I know all 5 candidates are here. Whoever is the leader, I hope they will invite the other 4 candidates in a very seriously prominent role to remain very active in this party, because this party cannot afford the delays of us not healing the divisions. And any leadership race, I know, feelings get hurt and it can be very challenging. And so I challenge all 5 candidates, whoever's elected leader, to reach out to all 4 of those candidates, and particularly the 2nd place candidate, and give them a very prominent role in the party going forward. But we can't afford to wait. I forgot, I was on a riff here. I was on something. Where was I going with this? Saving the planet. Green is good. Green is good. Yay, go team! Oh yes, that business is good. Yeah. So, but I want to say that that's where I was. That tonight or this afternoon, I believe that we will look back at this meeting as being historic, that we are electing the future leader of the opposition or premier of this province. And I consider myself to be very privileged to be one of the relatively few, because there are only 100, 150 of us here today, to have been here when the future premier was elected. And why am I so confident in saying that? Because I've just come from the Green Party of Ontario, where we tripled our vote. We went from 2.7 to 8% of the vote. And what was significant about that? There are many things. Not only the 355,000 votes we won, which show me conclusively we will win over 1 million votes federally in this next election. And that's without being included in the televised leaders debate. Put Elizabeth in that debate, and look out, boys. Look out, boys. 4 guys in ties have no chance against Elizabeth. Put Elizabeth in the debate, we're at 1.5 million votes. We're ahead of the bloc. In fact, a poll just came out within the last 3 weeks, putting the Green Party at 14% and the bloc at 5%. Triple the support of a party that has 51 seats in Parliament, and within 3 points of the NDP. So Jack, no wonder Jack is so, antagonistic when he talks about the Green Party. Right? Very strange strategy to attack us at every turn and then say, and we should merge. That's how I woo my dance partners. You're ugly and you dance funny. Now do you want to get married? Jeez, I just don't get it, Jack. Anyways, but we have cause to celebrate because Shane Jolly, I want to back up. I'm so proud, that Andrew Lewis was here today. He got the highest number of votes a Green has ever got in Canada in Saanich and the Gulf Islands in 2004. I had the pleasure of being involved in that campaign, and I also was involved in London North Centre, where Elizabeth got 26% of the vote, placing 2nd. Absolutely incredible. And what Greens don't even realize, let alone Canadians, is those are the only two campaigns in the history of the Green Party where we have dropped, in the case of Saanich, 80, in the case of London, $88,000 and had fully funded campaigns. There are only two campaigns that have ever been fully funded for the Green Party of Canada. And so when people say, is the Green Party competitive? Absolutely. Wherever we concentrate resources, we are absolutely competitive. Now, the interesting thing is in Ontario, a guy who owns a bike shop in Bruce Grey Owen Sound came in second with 33% of the vote. He wasn't a leader. He wasn't a deputy leader. He didn't have a fully funded campaign, and he came at 33% and 15,000 votes. It was supposedly a safe Conservative seat. And we did a poll, which we released, showing it was a two-way race between the 17-year Conservative incumbent and Shane Jolly. And do you know the NDP vote collapsed from 14% down to 4%? And the Liberal vote collapsed from 23 to 13%? And Shane gave the Conservative a near-death experience. And what I'm really saying tonight is there is no safe Conservative seat in Canada. There is no safe Liberal seat in Canada. There is no safe NDP seat in Canada. Canadians want change, and wherever the Green Party focuses its attention, wherever we focus our efforts, our resources, we can win even under a first-past-the-post system.
Right.
And I'll leave you with one last story, and it's really about respecting all people. In 1990, I ran in the Ontario provincial election against a woman who then was called Nancy Jackman. And she was running, and so was I in the same riding. And we became good friends. She was a progressive Conservative, and I was a Green. She changed her name to Nancy Ruth. She's one of Canada's preeminent feminist philanthropists. She gave over $1 million to LEAF. She was named to the Senate by Martin as a Conservative. She now sits with the Conservative caucus. In 2003, I asked her for $50,000 for the Green Party of Canada, and she gave it to us in a single check. And it's important that we don't vilify any people on left or right, that we talk about principles, not personalities, that we talk about policies, not attacks ad hominem. Because she, I believe, is in large part responsible for the Green Party being where we are today. Because her $50,000 convinced 5 other people to each donate $10,000, which gave us $100,000, which was the lion's share of the $250,000 that we raised in 2003, which allowed us to hire 70 people who worked like dogs at $10 an hour all across the country, that gave us our breakout election all across this country. And at the heart of it was a Conservative senator.
Amazing woman.
She is. She's one of my heroes. Now, I bet you Mr. Harper would not be happy with her actions. Exactly. But there's nothing really he can do about it, because she was appointed before his time, and she's a senator now. But we need to reach out to people on the right, to people on the left, because all people have grandchildren, all people care about the future, and all people need to be brought into the green fold. Thank you so much.
Don't leave. I want you to stay for just 1 second before we take a break and we move on to everything. One of the things that you have to love, and I want to tell you this story, was I was at Darcy McGee's in Ottawa having a pint with a bunch of political staffers on the Hill after Elizabeth May was elected. And I was sitting there with Campbell Clark, who is a reporter with the Globe and Mail. And we were having a pint, and we were watching CTV and Global News, and it's doing the run-through, and you see this national convention, and Elizabeth May has just been elected, and a great thing has happened for Greens. And there's Campbell, one of the most esteemed, award-winning, prestigious political journalists in Canada, who writes for the Globe and Mail.